Welcome back, Warriors. We have something very interesting for everyone today. Let us think about what we're going to do. You know what? Let's think about doing some logical things. Now, there's a lot of different logics, there's a lot of different thoughts when it comes to how somebody should do some things. So if we try to do something, we need to make sure that it's right. We need to make sure that we are figuring it out the most efficient way possible. Warrior Waldo, we we were kind of trained to have a certain thought process.
Right.
What was your experience with that?
Okay. Well, me and you, since we gotten out of the military doing our particular job, we were both training and constant reusing of this training in our everyday practice to do our job. It involved problem solving, and it involved the necessity to make a decision and come to the decision on how to solve the problem. We could just hem and haw, and we'll get around to it, like it seemed like a lot of the people we come across today since we both retired out of the military.
Right.
We wonder why they're so wishy-washy about making decisions, why they're so afraid to make a decision, why they're so afraid to ask for permission to make a decision. So I was going to try to explain to our audience the best way I can what I'm talking about here. About how we would start with a problem and how we would complete the problem.
And this is coming from the first responder point of view more than somebody who just comes in 8 hours later to figure things out.
And I would imagine a lot of emergency responders think the same way we do. But it's the non-emergency responders who don't have to have this time frame to get something done, and they take advantage of it.
Right.
So basically, we were taught a basic problem from beginning to end, 4 different steps to take care of this problem. Number one, we did what was called a recon. We did intel, information that we got from that recon meaning reconnaissance, sorry. We got intelligence using that information from that reconnaissance to look up and find out what the problem was.
Okay.
Number 3, we would try to find out how to solve that problem. And number 4, we would execute the plan to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try my best to explain to the audience what I mean by that. For the particular job we did, say we get a call for a bomb, and everything is called a bomb.
Right.
In the middle of a field, or side of the road, or whatever. It's just something we got to go take care of. First thing we do is reconnaissance. What is that? Basically, as soon as we show up on scene, we talk to people and interview people on scene to find out what they know. Once that, we take that information, come up with a plan to find out our own information using our expertise. We go down onto that item, we look at it, we take pictures, we write down information, we take measurements, any markings, we write them down, we write out where it's located, where it's pointed, all this information. And once we've got that information, now we got what we need to go do what would be part 2, would be the intelligence part of our job.
So if we could just stop real quick on part 1, how would we do this
Right.
section part, as we're calling it, in the civilian life? What would be an example of that, or shall we go through all 4 things?
I like where you're going. We'll do one part at a time. I think it'd be easiest to explain. So say you have some kind of pain in your body. You go to the hospital to talk to your daughter, to the doctor.
Right.
Basically, one of the first things you're going to do, especially for the VA, is you're going to call to make an appointment. The doctor or the nurse on the phone writes down your symptoms and hopefully makes an expedient appointment for you to see the doctor to find out what's going on. You go to the doctor, you tell them, I have this problem, I'm having this, these pains. They can do things from doing blood work, x-rays. They can press around, they can check your breathing. They do all these things to find out if they can narrow down what your problem is. Right. It's basically the same thing that we would do in a reconnaissance on a bomb. go down, we take pictures, we take x-rays, we take all the information we can to come up with a solution. A doctor, in this example, should be able to do the same thing. In an expedient manner, do pictures, x-rays, measurements, find out what's going on with you so they can come up and try to come up with a plan.
Right.
I mean, what kind of experience did you have with something like that? I mean, you have an example of that?
For, the doctors it's a great point. I've gone in and say, oh, ow, my shoulder hurts. One doctor would say, oh, okay, well, just don't do that anymore and it'll all get better. And another, yeah, it's, and then the other doctor who might be a little bit more thorough would say, you know what, let's investigate this more. Can you do this? Can you go back farther? And all sorts of other things. And, oh, hey, you might have a torn rotator cuff, which is completely different than just don't do that anymore.
Right.
But then obviously, once we make that decision to do something, we get into part two.
Right. So, and finishing up the part one part, the reconnaissance part, you have to be a good information collector to come up with the right decisions. We had to do nothing we could left a chance, so we had to catch everything.
Right.
In your situation, a good doctor would do a good reconnaissance on your problem by asking the right questions, ruling out other things. Don't just tell you, okay, don't do that. Okay, or here's some aspirin, go away.
Oh, man.
The old Band-Aid fix.
Yes.
So, yeah, the more information someone can get, and we can use this in other examples too, not just a doctor. If you're having financial problems, you call someone, they take your information, they can help you form a plan, but they got to ask all the right questions and try to get as much information from you as possible.
Yeah.
Now, we were spoiled, or I should say, we spoiled society because of emergency responders. We showed up right away.
Right.
When they say, yeah, sorry about the bomb on the side of your road, we'll get back to you in a week once we got it open. We had to respond right away.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
So maybe that's where we're a little off by expecting the rest of the world to respond the way we do, because not everything is our issues are not always an emergency to everyone else.
True.
But the more expedient, the better. So basically, once you've got, we're going to part two now. Basically, now that you've got all of the intel, all the information you have, you need to come up with a plan. So on our bomb threat scenario, or our bomb scenario that we find, we go to the truck, or we take it back to our shop, or whatever, plug in all the information, and hopefully, if you've got enough information, you're going to come up with a tight bank function. You're going to find out everything you need to know. How much hazard it has inside of it, the type of fuse, the dangers and sensitivities of the fuse. And usually from that information, you can try to come up with a plan. But you have to have all the information to do it. Now go back to our doctor situation. He now has everything in. You've got the blood work readings. You've got your x-rays. They've poked around. They've checked everything, checked your breathing. They've checked everything. And now he needs to come up with a plan. He or she needs to come up with a plan. Try to help you get better.
Right.
This part is very frustrating again to me and you because, again, our emergency is not their emergency. Just because we're in pain, they may or may not take as long as they need, to try to come up. And sometimes, they've got other patients and all that, but sometimes it's kind of, look, at the end of the day, I'm still in pain. I need you to do your job and take the information you got from me and come up with a plan. So I'll kick it back to you. Have you had any scenarios like that?
I like your example of basically an accountant. The only way the bookkeeper, the individual who's doing the money, figures out stuff is asking those types of questions, seeing where particular incomes came through,
right,
or whatever, and through that she can input the numbers and then come up with oh, hey, we can, buy this next building in 2 years because it's showing by the numbers, by what we're doing, we can do that. So let's come up with a plan of how to get to that point. I really like that.
Right. Once they've got all the information, And once they've done the research to come up with to find out what could possibly be, the next thing is to actually come up with a plan. In our bomb scenario, the plan is, can we dispose of it where it sits? Can we pick it up, take it someplace else to dispose of it? Or do we have to do a render safe procedure where we have to save the fuse before it can be moved? Whether there are different ways we can, if it can't be moved, what are the different ways we can dispose of it in place? Burn it, blow it up, or whatever. You
Sure.
know, come up with a plan to alleviate the problem. That would also involve set a cord on in case we do have to do any procedures, and it cannot be picked up. We have picked up and carried away. We have to use some procedures right then and there. Make sure everyone's safe. You know, make sure all the other authorities involved are aware of what we're doing.
Right.
Passing on information. So you take that back to my doctor scenario. I know you have different ones. So the doctor took all the readings. They researched it. They come up with an idea. Now, what are we going to do about your problem? You're going to require surgery. Would be called just simple physical therapy. Maybe it's just rest. Maybe they will give you some medication that hopefully temporarily, you know, you're not taking the rest of your life.
Sure.
You're going to avoid it, but it to help alleviate the pain until you perform the surgery or perform whatever needs to be done to help alleviate the problem. Now, this part right here is extremely frustrating for me because sometimes for a procedure to be done, people have to ask for permission. That requires guts. Sometimes that requires a lot of pride. In our situation, in our job we used to do, asking for permission from higher ups, hey, I need to dispose of this item in place right where it sits. I mean, we'll probably have to blow it up or burn it, whatever.
Right.
You got to ask for permission. Sometimes you're going to kick back questions. Well, why not you? Why can't you do that? I mean,
Sure.
How much damage we need? What kind of cording we need? But in an emergency response situation, we're doing it real time, so the answers are being kicked back pretty quick. You know, to get the whatever needs to be done. In my hospital scenario, sometimes it could go months before you get an answer back to what we're going to do. Sometimes it takes a lot of prodding. Hey, you said you'd get back to me in a couple of weeks, or you know, whatever it was. Or you said, well, we'll call you back to schedule a day, and weeks go by, and they haven't scheduled a day to perform whatever procedure they need to perform. So, how would you apply that to your scenario?
Like with the corporation and the accountant, they're wanting to buy that building, so the accountant now has to come up with that plan of how am I going to be able to get us corporation to buy that building. Do we put all of our funds into something like a certificate of deposit, a CD, in the bank for like a year or something, so it just grows your money? Do we want to put it in the stock market for 6 months to see what happens? But either way, like you said, the decision needs to be made. And in my particular situation, we're not first responders, so the accountant doesn't need to make a decision right now. The accountant can wait and ask the president, hey, when can we do this? And it doesn't have to be today. It can be tomorrow or something. But
when you make a time, stick to that time. First of all, it is never ever acceptable to tell the patient or the customer, we'll call you back soon. What does soon mean? Does soon mean tomorrow? Soon mean 2 weeks? What does soon mean? You know, an indifferent amount of time, but they do on purpose because they want to make sure they're not going to commit anything to you.
right.
Again, like I said, we were spoiled. We were told we need to give our higher ups a specific time if something needs to be done, roundabout ball figure or whatever, but still we gave them that time, and we stuck to that time because that's what was expected of us. We come out to the civilian world, and we kind of find out one of those rules don't really apply to them.
Yeah.
But when you're in pain or you're having some kind of ailment to prevent you from doing something, those minutes feel like hours feel like days. So all this time they're slowly going on in the process. And I'm going to be honest with you, the VA is what I'm specifically talking about because there's some issues with the VA that we deal with where They'll tell you, well, you're just gonna wait in line, but at the same time, maybe I'm waiting in line, but still, I don't expect to be prioritized with everybody, but information, all you gotta do is let me know when to expect and what to expect, and then I will at least have the mindset of waiting, okay, I know I have to wait this long for something to happen.
Sure.
You can't just leave this indefinite amount of time open, and then you're sitting there worried about if they're ever gonna call, why do you have to keep prodding them or whatever? And a lot of the times, like I said, having the gumption and the balls to ask for permission. If a nurse needs to ask a doctor to do this and ask the doctor, if the doctor needs to kick it up to another medical higher up to get a procedure done, then do it.
Yeah.
Don't just sit and wait for us to have to prod you several times to get it done.
Sometimes it's easier just to do it yourself. But
Yeah, if I could cut out some part of my body I didn't need anymore, I would do it myself. I'm afraid it doesn't work that way. And that's just another side note. You brought that up. We were taught to be self-reliant in doing our job. Where's anything I can't stand more in the world is relying on other people to do their jobs so I can do it. We were just taught to handle ourselves, About the only thing we had to wait for permission, but we didn't have to wait for someone else to do something before we could do our job. We did it all on our own. Expecting that civilian world is very frustrating because it's simply not going to happen.
Yeah.
The last part of this is executing the plan, actually doing what they say they're going to do. So, recon stuff. If the doctor looked at you, they said, okay, recon is you reporting the information. Doctor sees you, he takes all your symptoms, he plugs it into wherever he needs to plug it into, either his brain or computer, whatever, to come up with a solution. Intel. The intel will tell him, okay, this is the kind of stuff that he's failing, these are his ailments, this is what the blood work says, this is what the x-rays say. Now let's come up with a plan. Coming up with a plan. Okay, we're going to need surgery. You're going to need physical therapy. You're going to need a combination of stuff. Maybe it's just pain management until it goes away. Maybe it's just rest. But then the final part now is executing the plan. This is where it really gets frustrating. Because now say, we believe you have a tumor.
Oh.
Cancer. And what we need to do is remove that tumor. And you want to know, now you know what's wrong with you. When are we going to do this? And sometimes it takes them forever. I know in my personal family member situation where it seemed like it took months for them to get back to her to tell her, okay, we know we need to do this, but we'll let you know when it's going to get done. And you're sitting there worrying every day. It's this thing spreading. Is it getting bigger? And my symptoms getting worse. And if they do get worse, what are they going to do about it?
Yeah. Just kind of sends you into overthinking.
Oh my God, overthinking is so torturous. And the bomb situation, we sit there, we actually execute the plan, either by picking up, carrying it away, disposing of it in place, however that may do, render it safe, then move it. Basically, we tell the people that the property this bomb is on, or the public road, whatever, the airport, whatever it's got is being obstructed by the situation. We tell them what we're going to do, and then we do it. And then the problem gets alleviated, and everyone's happy, and everyone goes back amongst their lives. Civilian world didn't seem to work that way.
No.
What kind of examples could you provide or something like that?
The bookkeeper can tell, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to put all of our money into X account so we can earn more interest to go do that. That the president has to make that decision, and the plan that's already been set out for him to buy this new building, he's got to execute it. He's got to do, put the money over there, or at least tell the bookkeeper to put the money over there. He's got to get, whatever permits you need to buy a building or whatever. There's so much that can go into, just buying real estate, that you've got to have the plan and stick to it while you're doing it. Because if you're not sticking to it, you could very easily lose the building to another bidder.
And how frustrating is it that you know what needs to be done? You know what the plan is, but every time you call back and they say, well, the president of the company hasn't gotten back to you yet.
Ah,
They haven't called back yet. We still haven't heard, but we're still waiting for a reply. And my mind says, like, in my job, we can never get away with that. You know?
not at all. Not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, I will get back to you in about that bomb on the side of the road. Yeah, I'm still waiting for permission from the base commander to do something. When he calls me back, I'll let you know. And they're, of course, they're frustrated because they have this hazardous device sitting in the middle of their road or on their property or whatever. They want a gun, understandably. But we're just
Sure.
going like, yeah, we'll get back to you, you know.
Wait, no, it's gonna hurt. It's right there.
Information is key. Information just to let us know what to expect. And when that time comes along, that time frame comes, you actually do what you said you're going to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a kind of the way that us first responders are looking at things, and unfortunately, it does bleed over to our personal lives, as to which, like Warrior Waldo was talking about, it just we get so efficient at what we're doing at our job that it's like, why can't you do your job as efficiently as we have? And then for me, it's, I do the overthinking thing. So
So do I.
you go through this logic, and yes, it is different than other people's. This is more of the first responders' ideas. This is where, when things have to be done, like an active shooter at a school or whatever, when things have to happen now, these are the kind of the steps that you have to make in almost immediate fashions, just to get the plan, doing the plan, executing it. But say we need to go in with 3 long guns for that school shooter, then go do it. Have the balls to make that decision, and then get those people together. Maybe save some lives in that school. So,
Exactly.
well, Warriors, thank you so much for seeing us again. Like, subscribe, give us a middle finger. We appreciate it. See you on the next one.